Okay, we're just about ready to start. I'll remind everyone to please silence your cell phones. It is moved by Councillor Jorgensen, second by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that the council agenda as presented on July 22nd, 2025 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That carries. Thank you. Councillor, is there any disclosures of pecuniary interest today? Councillor Jorgensen?
Thank you, Worship. Yes, I'll be declaring on the public meeting item number 3 for HAG Holdings and the corresponding bylaw.
Okay, Councillor Hunter?
Thank you, Your Worship. I will be declaring also on number 3, HAG Holdings, and number 5, Gravette Fawn Lake.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Varney, you're going to deliver the land acknowledgement statement, please?
We would like to begin today's meeting by acknowledging the First Peoples who for thousands of years before us were and are still the keepers and caretakers of this land where we now live and work, and in particular the Chippewas of Rama, Wata, Mohawk First Nations, and the Moon River Métis. We are dedicated to honoring Indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit people. We recognize all the generations of Indigenous people and their historic connection to this place, and we are grateful for the opportunity to gather here at this time.
Thank you. This afternoon, there are 7 public meetings scheduled for 5 zoning bylaw amendments, 1 shore road closure, and 1 road closing application. Application number ZA36-2025 for Gaudry Investments Ontario. Application number ZA17-2025 for Laverty. Application number ZA18-2025 for Hague. Application number ZA2025 for Fulsang and Snooshell. Application number ZA 2022-2025 for Gravette. Application number Shore Road Closure 07-2024 for Stott Kuleza. Application number RC Road Shore Closure 01-2024 for TRG Cherokee Holdings. The Planning Act requires that a public meeting be held before council decides to pass a zoning bylaw amendment or close a road allowance. The public meeting serves 2 purposes. First, to present to council and the public details and background to the proposal, and second, to receive comments from the public and agency before council makes a decision. I will briefly summarize the procedure to be utilized for the public meeting. The Manager of Planning Services, Adam Agar, will advise council as to when, how, and to whom notice of public meeting was circulated. Staff will then advise of the purpose and effect of the proposed zoning amendment and provide any additional information that is relevant to the application. Staff will further summarize any correspondence on file. From there, the applicant will be requested to make presentation, followed by questions or presentations from the public, either in favor or against the proposal. Council will then have the opportunity to question the applicant, staff, or anyone giving presentations. The proposed zoning bylaw amendment and road closing will then be considered by council later this afternoon. If anyone from the public and the council chambers would like to request notification of the decision of any application, please complete the form provided on the table at the back. Please include your email address and return to the same location. I will now ask the Manager of Planning Services to advise how, when, and to whom notice of the public meeting was circulated. Mr. Agar?
Thank you, Your Worship. Notice of the public meetings concerning the proposed zoning bylaw amendments were sent by first-class mail to the respective owners and assessed persons within 120 meters, that's 400 feet, of the property subject to the proposed bylaw and emailed to applicable agencies. Included within the notices was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the proposal, a site plan, and a key map showing the location of the property in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act RSO 1990, Chapter P13. The public notices concerning the proposed road allowance closures were advertised on the News and Notices page on the town's website for 2 consecutive weeks prior to this afternoon's meeting. Included with the shore road allowance and road allowance closure public notices was a legal description of the lands affected and the date of consideration by council. The circulations concerning the proposed shore road allowance and road allowance closures were provided in accordance with the provisions of the Municipal Act 2001, Chapter M25, and the town's procedural bylaw.
Okay, thank you. It is important to note that should council pass any bylaws this afternoon, there is a 20-day appeal period during which time the applicant, the municipality, and certain public bodies, as defined by the Planning Act, may appeal the decision of council. During this appeal period, no building permit may be issued or other work commenced. Also, in the event there is an appeal, and in order to be kept advised of the possible Ontario Land Tribunal hearing, members of the public must request and be sent a copy of council's decision on the application. Before we kick off public meeting number 1, I should point out that we did receive regrets from Councillor Johnston, Councillor Cairns, and Councillor Strength today, and I will be leaving the meeting at 5 o'clock. And Councillor Jorgensen will be taking the chair. So with that, I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA36-2024, Gaudry Investments Ontario Limited. I will now ask the Manager of Planning Services to please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application. Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject property is located between Highway 11 South and Tower Crescent. The property is designated rural settlement area in the official plan and is zoned mobile home MH and subject to special provision 61. The subject property is currently developed with 54 mobile homes and a variety of accessory structures on individual sites, which are concentrated within the north central area of the property. The eastern portion of the property contains an existing dwelling that is intended to be used by the caretaker or owner. The application was submitted in order to expand an existing mobile home park. The application seeks to permit the following relief from the zoning bylaw: to permit a maximum of 207 mobile home sites where currently 90 are permitted by the existing special provision. Permit a maximum mobile home site coverage of 25% where 20 is permitted. Permit a minimum mobile home site area of 400 square meters where currently 700 square meters is required. And lastly, to permit a minimum mobile home site frontage of 13.5 meters where 23 meters is required. The proposed servicing solution for the proposed development would be private communal servicing. For council's information, a pre-consultation meeting was held with the applicant and the applicant's agent on July 30th, 2024. At the meeting, staff identified conformity issues both with the Town of Gravenhurst official plan and the Muskoka official plan, particularly with respect to the proposed communal servicing. Town staff also provided correspondence from the District of Muskoka planning staff outlining similar policy concerns, which was provided to the applicant. It was indicated that applications for both a town and district official plan amendment would be also required and that staff would be unable to support such applications. The zoning bylaw amendment application was submitted on November 27, 2024, and was deemed incomplete by staff on December 17, 2024, as it did not include a scalable site plan or a servicing option statement. It was also indicated at that time that the town and district official plan amendment applications have not been received, and that staff would continue to not be supportive of the complete application if submitted. The proposal before council today now includes the requested information for a complete zoning amendment application, but does not include applications for town or district official plan amendments as previously requested. Section D15 of the Muskoka official plan contains servicing policies. Specifically, D15.6.1 states that private communal sewage services and private communal water systems that are proposed to service residential development shall require an amendment to the Muskoka official plan. The proposal includes an extension to an existing communal water supply and a new communal sewage system to service new mobile home units intended for year-round use, which would not be permitted by the Muskoka official plan. District planning staff have indicated that they are generally unable to support an official plan amendment applications to permit private communal servicing for residential development and have recommended that the proposed zoning bylaw amendment before council this afternoon be denied. Further to that, the town's official plan contains similar policies in section J3, which contains the policies for sewage and water services. Specifically, J331 specifically states that communal services may only be permitted for resort commercial development where those services form part of an approved condominium corporation and where the requirements of the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change and the District of Muskoka are met. The intention of this policy is to direct denser forms of year-round residential development to the existing settlement area where, with municipal services, to limit the public health and safety impacts that would result from private communal services failing, and to limit the prescribed municipal liability to assume servicing infrastructure in the event of a system failure, or if the owner defaulted on their obligations in the required municipal responsibility agreement. As previously noted, the application involves expanding the existing mobile home park to include 207 units on individual sites. Previously, you can see here the 54 existing sites in the central part of the property, and the expansion would be everything you're seeing here with the more clear lot line delineations. As previously mentioned, there's already existing rights within Special Provision 61 to go up to a maximum of 90 in the site-specific zoning. Staff are of the opinion that the proposed development would result in a significant number of units on small sites that would not appear to be a minor expansion, nor would it appear to be consistent with the existing intended density and scale of the Kilworthy rural settlement area. And lastly, would have significant private water and effluent production demands. In addition to that, notwithstanding the district and town official policy conformity challenges as it relates specifically to the town zoning bylaw, the proposed relief from the town's bylaw to significantly increase the maximum number of mobile home sites, increase the lot coverage, decrease the minimum site sizes and frontages is a form of density and development not indicative of the rural settlement area in staff's opinion. The intention of the existing provisions is to ensure that mobile home sites are appropriately sized and developed and serviced while also ensuring they are not overdeveloped and a rural character is maintained. Further, it's worth mentioning it's unclear whether each site can be appropriately developed while satisfying all other provisions of the applicable zoning bylaw requirements, as no building footprints have been shown on the included plan. As detailed in the staff report, it's staff's opinion that the application as submitted does not meet the general intent of the zoning bylaw. With respect to agency comments, the chief building official indicated that all new mobile homes will require building permits and that septic system approval would be through the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, and that firefighting measures should be considered. The deputy fire chief provided concerns expressed pertaining to firefighting and risk management for the proposed development. Specific concerns included open air burning and bylaw issues, road access and maintenance standards, and the proposed site areas and coverage. Also noted providing on-site water supply for firefighting was also recommended. The Ministry of Transportation provided comments identifying that the subject lands are within the MTO's permit control area as the property does abut Highway 11 South. They provided the following comments: that a site plan must be submitted to the MTO that includes engineered scalable and stamped drawings that show all existing and proposed structures. The eastern section of the property that's affected by lands designated for future highway expansion, and a 14-meter setback from the shared property line with Highway 11 is required, which includes internal roads, parking, and servicing infrastructure. And that a traffic impact study will be required for the MTO's review and approval, and that a building and land use permit is required on lands within the MTO's jurisdiction. The District of Muskoka provided a comment letter as well, which stated that the district planning staff have recommended that the proposed zoning amendment be denied. It was noted that Section D1561 of the Muskoka Official Plan states that private communal sewage and water services proposed to service residential development is not permitted and shall require an amendment to the Muskoka Official Plan. It was also noted that communal systems pose a significant risk to the district municipality of Muskoka and its taxpayers by having to bear the cost and responsibility for communal systems should they fail, in addition to the risk to both the environment and human health and safety. The province of Ontario has the authority to intervene in drinking water systems or sewage works that are deemed unsafe or failed, and may issue an order to require the municipality to assume responsibility for the system's operation, maintenance, and any necessary upgrades or environmental rehabilitation measures. District staff also noted in their letter that this situation has occurred recently for a similar development at significant cost to the district and its ratepayers. In addition, if the district municipality of Muskoka is ordered to assume the privately owned communal water or wastewater system, the Safe Drinking Water Act statutory standard of care for drinking water and systems then applies, and members of council and any officials with decision-making authority over a system can be held personally liable for these systems. Concerns were also expressed about the proposed year-round residential use and the ownership model to ensure that appropriate financial controls and processes are in place for the long-term maintenance and safe operation of the proposed communal systems. As it relates to letters from the public, as council is aware, 20 letters of opposition have been received from property owners in the surrounding area. All letters received have been forwarded to council for the review prior to this afternoon's meeting. Generally speaking, concerns were expressed about the proposal's conformity to local planning policies, impact to the environment and surrounding properties, including the water table and traffic patterns, the availability of transportation infrastructure, garbage collection, fire, and emergency services for the proposed development, among other matters. Moving now through site photos, this looks west towards Tower Crescent where the main park entrance is. This is then looking east into the entrance of the existing mobile home park. The proposal does include a new road surface, and the mobile home sites being contemplated as part of this application would be on the right-hand side of your screen in the wooded area. This is moving east from the entrance, looking southwest, the first fork in the road network. New mobile home units on the other side of would be on the other side of the existing road, again on the right-hand side here. This is then moving east down the road, showing, again, now the new mobile home sites would be on the left-hand side, and you can see existing mobile home sites and vehicles parked out in front of them on the right-hand side. This is then looking into that area where a new road connection is proposed and mobile home sites are proposed. This is then moving north and looking west and showing the existing road in the middle of the park and existing mobile homes. This is then looking east along the northern existing road with existing homes on the right, and the boundary between the subject property and Big Pine Acres mobile home park would be on the left-hand side. This then is looking south into the existing water treatment and distribution system that services the subject property, which is actually located on adjacent lands on the Big Curve Acres Park to the north. The applicant does have an easement to use this area for water purposes. This is the northeastern portion of the property, looking towards the caretaker's home. Highway 11 would then be to your back. This is the site that you can see from the highway. And then lastly, the entrance to Highway 11 South and Highway 11 South. As detailed in the staff report, it's staff's opinion that the application is not consistent with the provincial planning statement, does not conform to the district or town official plan, and is not appropriate, nor does it represent good planning. As a result, staff are recommending that the application be denied, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Thank you. I will now ask for any comments by the applicant or their agent if they're attending in person. Please stand, approach the podium, give your full name and mailing address to the clerk, and follow the comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. Wayne Simpson with Tulloch Engineering, 80 Main Street West, Huntsville, no suite number, P1H1W9. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on behalf of the applicants. I do have a PowerPoint presentation that I'll have run through with the assistance of a staff member. Basically, I would start off by saying in the first slide after this is that sort of the next slide, please, is that the property is in the Kilworthy rural settlement area. Oh, that button. Way to go. Thanks very much, Adam. Hope I can do it. Okay. Kilworthy rural settlement area. According to the official plans of both the district and the town, the primary urban area is to be the focus of most residential development, and the secondary area of focus would be the rural or other settlement areas. So this is in the rural settlement area of Kilworthy. The whole of the property is within that designation, and that should, although it says rural, it shouldn't be confused with the rural designation in the official plan as well. The current zoning is Muskoka Mobile Home designation 61, and it does allow for 90 sites, and the sites are large enough at 700 meters square meters each to accommodate private individual services. So what's motivating the owner to bring this application forward? Clearly, there's a dire shortage of generally affordable or attainable housing. I use the word generally affordable. Some of the units may actually fall within the affordable category defined by the CMHC, but most of them wouldn't. It really depends upon the income of the person who's residing there, and as well how much equity they put into the purchase of the unit they're going to be living in. And not everybody who wants affordable housing wants to be in a rental apartment. So the land lease option provides a price-sensitive alternative for single-family detached housing. And the park owner has recognized that 207 mobile home sites can be accommodated, and that's shown on the conceptual draft plan. When it's finally resolved, it could be something less than that, but it wouldn't be any more if that's what the zoning bylaw is approved at. And so by that, with the 54 units already on site, the owner is willing to add 153 new homes to the property. So what would the housing cost? Very, very approximate. I haven't done any research on it, but I would suggest that detached houses in Gravenhurst would run in the $600,000, $700,000 range, quite possibly more on average. The housing that's proposed in this development would typically be in the $250,000 range for 2 bedrooms and up to $375,000 for 3-bedroom units. That's the purchase price to buy a modular home and set it down on the site, and that would be included. That would be done by the developer. The average monthly rental cost would be estimated about $580. That would cover all the park's operating costs and provide some contingencies for additional repairs and replacement as time goes on. One of the advantages of this approach is that the residents will have a pride of ownership and an opportunity to grow equity, in contrast to rental housing where no future benefit is derived from the rental payments. So if we're talking about people being able to make steps towards improved housing, this is a step. How is the preferred servicing option to be determined? There are 3 fundamental options under the PPS. The preferred is for settlement areas such as Kilworthy is municipal sewage and water, sewage and water services. Then it goes on to describe that if full municipal services are not available, planned or feasible, the preferred option would be for multi-unit development such as this would be private communal sewage works and private communal water services, which the PPS recognizes providing better protection to the environment and minimizing potential risks to health and safety. I think that's an important thing to note. The communal services would be employing new technologies that would be centralized and for servicing. The third option would be where neither of these exist. The final option would be private individual services such as are already provided on the site, and what can be accommodated there is going to be a function of well as what is the capacity of the site to accommodate the number of units with individual wells and individual septics. So how is the preferred servicing option determined? Pursuant to the MOE regulation or guidelines, a servicing option report is required to be completed. to identify the preferred option for the development. Gravenhurst asked for this in May, and it was provided. It was what Adam referred to as helping us to make the application complete. The servicing options report was prepared by Envision Consultant, their consulting engineers, and they concluded that the private communal sanitary system should be preferred, recognizing that sewage treatment technology is available to achieve the required nutrient removal. And once the required treatment and disposal system is condensed, the opportunity to develop the property is enhanced. So what I'm saying by condensed is rather than having a whole slew of private individual services, sewer sanitary services, they would all be condensed to one location with one modern plant, and that would free up the opportunity to reduce the size of the housing modular home sites going forward from 700 meters to 400 square meters, for example. And the consulting engineers also concluded that a private communal drinking water system would be preferred with drilled wells, treatment plant, and distribution systems. And the preferred option would include discontinuing the use of the communal shared water system with Big Pine Acres to the north. So that system would be, that facility would be displaced or used only by Big Pine Acres. In the servicing options report, and this is intended to guide the decision-making, but it gives you some sense as to how they compare. If municipal water and sanitary services were extended about 15 kilometers, the capital cost would be in the range of 52 to 77 million, which is $250,000 to $365,000 a unit, if we're assuming that all of that cost is borne by the Muskoka Mobile Home Park, at least up front. The capital cost for the private communal systems is estimated as $4 to $5 million, or about $19,000 to $24,000 per unit. That's the capital cost. And the private individual services, if new sites are separately serviced by new septic systems, they would be in the range of $9 to $10 million, about $60,000 per site. And if the existing units are transferred from the current communal well with Big Pine Acres to the new system, that would cost an additional $40,000 for each of those 52 housing sites. So clearly, the financial, based on financial considerations, the preferred option is private communal systems. So what opportunities are facing the developer? The developer can do nothing, maintain the status quo, and stick with 54 units, or the developer could add sites within the current maximum of 90 and keep the existing sites, the sites up at the 700 square meter. As the developer proceeds down that path, there will come a point, probably very quickly, that the opportunity to proceed with any sort of communal system would be undermined, and the developer wouldn't be able to do that. The developer needs an economy of scale to justify the costs of installing modern systems. So, small increment within the 90 might be possible, but anything substantive would be contrary to the ultimate goal. Passing the proposed bylaw will permit a maximum of 207 mobile home sites that can be serviced by modernized centralized water and treatment facilities, including 3 wells and a peak demand reservoir and an advanced technology sewage treatment plant. The Muskoka official plan, comments by the Muskoka planner are what I would describe as looked at singularly from a risk aversion perspective. There's no mention of housing, economic growth, or environmental considerations in the letter provided to the town by the district planners. The planning staff at the district also went so far as to saying that private communal systems pose a significant risk to the district, its taxpayers, and expose members of council and any officials with decision-making authority to personal liability. And this extreme aversion to risk was a basis of OPA number 30, which was passed in 1991, which removed the possibility of private communal systems for mobile home parks. So it was 34 years ago. excuse me. The section D 15.6.1, I believe is referenced in both staff reports, requires an OPA if private communal services are proposed for residential development. But in speaking with district staff directly, although I disagree with them for the need for this, for an OPA, I asked point blank if we proceeded down that path, would they give us support? And they said no. District staff are effectively saying there's no mechanisms that exist to avert the risks staff perceive. That assumption is incorrect. Through the issuance of an ECA, environmental compliance approval, the province can require a responsibility agreement to be entered into, provide all financial assurances, securities that district requires, including obligations to ensure the systems are only operated by qualified people with testing, monitoring, and routine reporting. And I provided both the town and the district with an excellent sample agreement recently entered into between the City of Ottawa and 2 developers in their municipality. The 2 sections, F5 and J3 in the town official plan mimic those in the district. And when asked again whether or not an OPA would be supported by staff, they said no. The important document that really needs to be considered is the provincial policy statement. Section 6.1.5 in the PPS says that municipal officials are required to provide clear, reasonable, and attainable policies to protect provincial interests and to facilitate development in suitable areas. And in order to protect provincial interests, planning approvals shall keep their official plans up to date with the provincial policy statement. Neither the Muskoka official plan and the Gravenhurst official plan have been updated to reflect the provincial policy statement. And then in section 6.17 of the policy statement, and I've emphasized this in red, it says, where a planning authority must decide on a planning matter before their official plan has been updated to be consistent with the provincial policy statement, the planning authority, must still make a decision that is consistent with the provincial policy statement. So notwithstanding any confusion with the town's official plan, the obligation of this municipality is to consider the provincial policy statement as being above the interests of the town's official plan. So in conclusion, the owner would like to given the opportunity to install 150 new homes. Again, the private communal systems cannot be dismissed as being contrary to the official plans, and neither can application for official plan amendments be required at this time. And in my professional opinion, providing the housing, supporting economic growth, and changing the servicing to better protect the environment are ample reasons to approve the zoning bylaw amendment. And we appreciate, and I would just comment quickly that we received the comments from the Deputy Fire Chief, and we're quite willing to work with him on those concerns. Understand the concerns of the building official, appreciate the comments of the Ministry of Transportation, and that concludes my presentation, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ooh, don't
You'll
want
be
that.
around for questions. Okay, so are there any questions or comments from members of public attending in person? If so, please stand, approach the podium, give your full name and mailing address to the clerk, and follow with your comments.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Isabel Fratty, 1045 Tower Crescent, Kilworthy, POE1GO. Your Worship, Mayor Lorenz, honorable council members, staff members, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Isabel Fratty. I'm here on behalf with my husband, Rick Jablonski, and my fellow neighbors from the community of Kilworthy, including Xavier Street, Kilworthy Road, and Tower Crescent. If you guys want to stand or wave. And to voice our strong opposition to application ZA 36-2024 from Gadri Investments Ontario Limited to rezone the lands located at 1701 Highway 11 South, located off Tower Crescent. We learned about this proposal rezoning effort approximately 3 weeks ago and quickly generated an awareness campaign with our neighbors. We were shocked, as many were, to learn that this had even been contemplated, and we were immediately concerned about the many negative impacts this may have on our quiet and tranquil community. We urged neighbors to generate a letter about their opinions, and on July 18th, on behalf of the community, I submitted 17 letters of opposition to Mr. Adam Ager, the Manager of Planning Services, Andrew Clark, Planning, and Councillor Michelle Robinson. Yesterday, I received an additional 4 letters and submitted those with the same opinion. The impact of the increased population of this proposal offers and raises concerns around the following issues: an immense strain on our rural infrastructure, including a negative impact to the existing and finite water table supply in the local wells, increased load on current utilities, leading to increased power outages, unsustainable and unstable internet and mobile networks, increased propane usage, amping up fire risks, increased need for wastewater treatment, refuse management, stormwater management, and snow management and removal. The already tight geographic area within the park will be severely impacted, further to the narrowing access, thus creating a risk for smooth emergency access for police, fire, and ambulance. Tower Crescent was recently resurfaced last summer for rural usage, not for significant increased traffic flow patterns due to construction and development and subsequent residential and guest traffic from Highway 11, Kilworthy Road, and Tower Crescent for park access, thereby increasing noise, traffic flow, and congestion and safety risks. Tower Crescent is already suffering with excessive speeding incidents, which include the population would only increase. The environmental impact are also given grave concern. Many residents were attracted to invest in the Kilworthy area because of its tranquil, low density, private appeal, and have established and maintained high-value properties. Introducing a high-volume mobile park and development will threaten the serenity of the community and alter the rural residential character, disrupt the local wetlands and ecosystems due to clearing the development of the site, removing mature trees, vegetation, and destroying habitats of birds and local wildlife, increase noise, light, waste levels, and potentially contaminating groundwater sources due to increased use of wells and septic systems. In addition to these public concerns, the proposal is fundamentally incongruent with the Regional Rural Settlement Plan as found in the Provincial Planning Statement, the Muskoka Official Plan, Gravenhurst Official Plan, and Zoning Bylaw 10-4. In reviewing Mr. Ager's report, which he just expanded on today, I was relieved that he also noticed and addressed with many specific examples the nonconformity of the above noted plans, which also directly supports the community concerns that this proposal hopes to skirt. With the noted examples of noncompliance with the official plan for the region, coupled with the very strong objections of the immediate community and on behalf of the residents of Kilworthy, specifically Tower Crescent, Kilworthy Road, and Xavier Street, we respectfully urge the council to reject the application for the zoning lands at 1701 Highway 11 South. Thank you for your consideration and opinions, and of our opinions, and that concludes my comments, Your Honor, Your Worship.
Thank you. Thanks for your presentation. Anybody else coming up? Great.
My name is Michael Ball. I reside at 1088 Tower Crescent. I did not have prepared comments like my neighbor, because I wanted to hear what the owner's representative had to say. First of all, sorry, I didn't say greetings to the mayor and the council members. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm in favor of low-cost housing. I want to make that clear. And I'm not opposed to this site being expanded to the allowable number of units. We do need affordable housing options for people. So that's first and foremost. But I am concerned when I read in the report that Adam distributed about the District of Muskoka's concern related to another development where the district ended up taking on the cost of a failed communal waste system. That is seriously a major concern. And of course, consulting engineers who are paid have a biased interest in recommending that this would be okay. But if it's not okay, we are all going to pay for that. So I have that's a major concern. I did listen. But what are the guarantees? So that's a serious concern. And something that I did not express in my letter is, again, not being opposed to an expansion, a reasonable expansion, is that area is definitely home to wildlife. Like moose come treading through there. It's a habitat. And this is not just specific to this area. We have ongoing destruction of habitat, which is a concern of mine. I know it's not a concern of our premiers, but it is a concern of mine. And we should be concerned about ecological damage. And but I have to, sorry, I have to stress that the other major concern is us having dealt with a well issue and the driller telling us that this aquifer is limited. And then I hear about the possibility of private wells or a new communal water system that still is a drilled system. What will its impact be on this limited aquifer? And so less is more here. Thanks for your time.
Okay. Come on up if you want to come up, just.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Just need your name.
My name
and
is Dan
address.
McEntee. I'm a business owner just in Washago area. So I maybe have no right to be up here, but I do have clients all through that area. And my daughter lives at the end of Tower Crescent as well. So some concerns for her, I'm sure. But actually I'm here because I see quite a few people that are actually clients in the area and the mobile park itself. And all I wanted to do here was to, I was just observing, and it seems all negative for poor old Navi. I just wanted to put in a little positive job. I've been to a lot of trailer parks, mobile parks, and some of them not so nice. And I see Navi trying to clean up all the time, and I see he's trying to improve. And I just want to say that if he does something there, if you get approval for whatever, I think it'll be a good thing, because I think he's going to be on top of it, which is a good thing. The affordable housing, yeah, like some of these people in the area of Tower Crescent obviously have been quite blessed. I've been very blessed myself. Some people have not been. They need this lower priced housing, right? But it comes at a cost, right? And I understand everybody's concerns, and I agree with some of them. And listening to what he was saying about, sorry, I forget your name. He was talking about the negative impacts of the town, stuff like that. I get that. But I'm just here to put a positive note to what I've seen Navi doing in his park. And I think that should be noticed, right? That's all I got to say. And like I say, everybody's got good points here, but you got to consider sometimes, like I said, it'll come at a cost. But we do need affordable housing. There's a lot of kids out there, I don't know how they're going to do it. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your comments. Anybody else coming up? Okay. I don't see anybody, so we're going to close that window. Council, so now it's your time to ask questions. Remember, question period now, and then debate period at the bylaw stage. So, Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I think my question is to Mr. Egger, potentially to the agent. The current 54 units that are there, if I understand this correctly, they are being serviced through the shared communal water servicing with Big Pine Acres. I think I understand that correctly. If they, expand to the 90 permitted, obviously that wouldn't be able to, those new ones wouldn't be able to use that. So would those, if they go to the 90 permitted and not the 207, would they each need their own septic system then? Because the 90 are permitted. How would that, and how would the current 54 be lumped into the new, if you sort of understand my question? Thank you.
Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Hunter. Thanks for the question. So currently, right now, there's currently private water and a private sewage system. As you correctly pointed out, the current water supply is not on the property, and it's shared with Big Pine Acres. In addition to that, there's currently right now, from our understanding, 31 on-site sewage treatment and subsurface disposal beds servicing the 54 sites. So conceivably 31 for 54. Some of them are being shared, which currently right now we would not be supportive of. It'd still be considered communal. In addition to that, as it relates to lot sizes, things of that nature, that the 700 square meter number for our standard lot size, that's to ensure that these lots can be developed and individually serviced on their own and not have to depend on neighbors to share. So that's another fundamental concern of ours, is shrinking that lot size decreases the ability for those properties to be individually serviced as well.
Councillor Morphy?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Mr. Egger, I call you by your first name, I get caught every time. Can you put the overhead up where you can see the existing mobile home and all those wonderful trees, and point out where exactly the expansion would take place? Is it clear? No, yeah. Yep. There you go. Where would the expansion would take place where all those trees, yeah. Okay, it went rather quick. That's what I needed to hear. Thank you.
Okay, Council, anyone else? Councillor Jorgensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. If I heard correctly, I think the agent for the proponent here said that the official plans do not conform to the provincial policy statement. And I believe, Mr. Egger, you said that the proposal doesn't agree with the provincial planning statement now. Just wondering if you could elaborate on those points that have been raised with regard to the conformity of the district and the town official plan with the PPS.
Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Jorgensen, great question. So as indicated in the staff report, there's actually a number of different sections of the provincial planning statement that the proposal before council this afternoon doesn't conform with at all. It is not in keeping with those provisions as well. Specifically, the PPS does clearly say where communal services are not available, planned, or feasible, that individual services are preferred. So it's very clear that both the Muskoka official plan and the Gravenhurst official plan don't plan for communal services. In fact, they don't permit them. So in saying that, we don't plan for communal services because we have fully serviced urban areas where we direct our development and density to be located. In addition to that too, getting back to sort of Planning 101, the PPS sets the framework for all our planning rules, and municipalities, the upper tier and the lower tier, have the opportunity to be more restrictive than the PPS. So the PPS sets out the framework for what can happen. However, here in Muskoka, we choose and plan to not permit communal servicing. So it's not that the official plan at the district level or the town level is not consistent with the PPS. They are in keeping with, and further to that, the province is the approval authority of the district's official plan. And they've accepted the fact that that plan conforms to the PPS.
Director Halford, did you want to add something?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. To add to what Mr. Egger mentioned, I will note that there was the District of Muskoka official plan was reviewed most recently in 2019, and ours has been reviewed. It was reviewed in 2016 and will be reviewed again. And the district's official plan, although historically has always prohibited communal servicing, included those policies again in 2019, and the province approved that plan, which would not approve or would not permit communal servicing. added on top of that, the recent experience, as Mr. Egger had mentioned, of the district with communal servicing and taking over communal servicing has reignited that conversation at the district table, as you may know, and it continues to be their recommendation that communal servicing not be used for residential development. It's permitted for recreational development, resorts, but not for residential development. And as Mr. Egger mentioned, it's not just the communal servicing, it's the scale of the development as well in a rural settlement area that would not conform with ROP or comply with the PPS.
Councillor Jorgensen?
Thank you. So if I'm hearing you correctly, it sounds to me like the PPS permits communal servicing, but the PPS also permits municipalities to not permit communal servicing.
Yeah, through your worship to the councillor, yes, the PPS is very clear in that municipal official plans are the most important implementation tool for the PPS. And that's why we have the plans at a local level to determine what's appropriate for our communities and what isn't. In the case of the District of Muskoka, who is ultimately responsible for water and wastewater services, they have determined that the risk to municipal taxpayers, health and safety, has not been something that they wanted to entertain and imposed that through policies. Most recently, in the early 2000s, there was an additional official plan amendment to prohibit communal servicing, particularly as it relates to mobile home development, because of the risk that it can cause, and putting people out of homes if the systems fail, right? It's one thing for a resort, people can go back to their homes, but if these systems fail, then the municipality is then responsible to take them over, and at great cost, right? So, and the health and safety of the folks that live there is put in jeopardy. So, yes, the official plans are the most important tool for implementing the PPS, and in Muskoka, that tool has been used to not permit communal servicing. Other municipalities do, Muskoka does not.
Okay, anybody else have any comments or questions? Well, I'm going to make mine before I go back to you. Mr. Egger, what do you think the likelihood of an appeal from the District of Muskoka if council passes this today?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, although I can't necessarily speak for my colleagues at the district, I would say we're all pretty familiar with the comment letters that we get from the District of Muskoka on various different planning applications, and I would say this is the most detailed, restrictive, and cautionary letter we've received in quite some time, and it would be my understanding, given that their interest specifically is water and wastewater, they would be appealing the application.
Okay, Councillor Jorgensen, one more question?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm just curious now, because you said some of the septic beds are shared, or septic fields or septic facilities are shared. Is this under the jurisdiction then for, if they were to expand, is that under the jurisdiction of the Ministry of the Environment rather than the town for expansion? Because my understanding that you're not allowed to have shared septic, or is it because it's on one property, it's different? Could you?
Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Jorgensen, that's correct. It would be under the ministry's jurisdiction, as noted in the chief building official's comments.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? Mr. Egger, are there any recommendations or comments to bring to the attention of council as a result of these proceedings?
Your Worship, as detailed in the staff report in the presentation this afternoon, staff would recommend that the application be denied.
The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this public meeting to be concluded. We're going to roll right into public meeting number 2. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA17 2025 Laverty.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to have a question for the clerk. Since number 3, we have 2 conflicts declared, and there's only 6 of us. Do we have quorum? Because I believe there's people in the audience for HAG. Thank you.
Thank you. Through the chair to Councillor Morphy and all of council. Quorum is directed under the Municipal Conflict of Interest Act. When you have a conflict, that says that as long as there are 2 applicable members who can vote, the matter can proceed. So quorum will be adjusted if we get to that case, as long as 2 members of council are able to vote on a matter. Thank you.
That would be an interesting debate. I might like to see that. Okay. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA17-2025 for Laverty. I will now ask the manager of planning services to please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application. Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject property is located on Cashy Lake. The property is designated waterfront area in the Town of Gravenhurst official plan and is currently zoned residential waterfront RW6F. The existing structures on the property include a dwelling with a deck, a sleeping cabin with a deck that is actually subject to this application, a shed, a sauna, and docks. The property slopes up steeply from the water to a plateau that extends towards the road. The septic bed is located on the plateau, and all other structures are located closer to the lake where the slope is more moderate. The sleeping cabin that is subject to this application is located directly adjacent to the lake. The application was submitted in order to permit the reconstruction and enlargement of an existing sleeping cabin within the shoreline development area, which is the area within 20 meters of the lake, and to increase the shoreline development to 170 square meters. And just so you're looking on the proposal here, the sleeping cabin in question is just to the left of my cursor. The dwelling's there, the lake is here. The proposed sleeping cabin would have the effect of permitting legal non-conforming sleeping cabin to be expanded within the shoreline development area and permitting the maximum shoreline development to be 170 square meters where currently 138 square meters is permitted. The existing dwelling and sleeping cabin have existed since the early 1960s, according to assessment records. As a sleeping cabin is not a permitted use within the shoreline development area, it is considered legal non-conforming and does not have expansion rights without planning approval, which is why we're here this afternoon. Due to the terrain and the length of time of the habitable structures have all been there, all predating any zoning bylaw requirements, all the structures are located closer to the water than permitted under current standards. Although the sleeping cabin is proposed to increase in size very close to the shore, the proposal will result in modest development on this property. However, staff are recommending capping the size of the sleeping cabin to what is proposed being 37.2 square meters, which is less than the 46.5 square meters typically permitted for a sleeping cabin, given its proximity to the shoreline. The chief building official provided the comment that there's no record of a permit for the existing sleeping cabin. The only septic record on file is an old MOE record, and the septic will require evaluation before any building permit is issued. The infrastructure technologist and the manager of revenue, no objections. Fire and emergency services provided the comment of no objections subject to Ontario Fire Code and Ontario Building Code compliance. And the District of Muskoka, no objection. In addition to that, 2 letters of support were provided from each of the adjacent property owners. And now I'll take you through to the site photos. This is a view from the driveway. And then this is the steep slopes up from the shore to the existing dwelling, which limits the reconstruction of the sleeping cabin. This is another view of the dwelling and the parking area, which would be on the right. And then down here towards the dwelling from the parking area. This is then looking at the existing sleeping cabin and shoreline. Again, all these structures predated the zoning bylaw, and that's why their location is where it is. And then this is the shoreline development currently noted on the property. And again, the proximity of the sleeping cabin, and again, showing the deck and the existing shoreline development. And then another vantage point looking at the buffering to the neighboring property and the steep slopes and the mature trees elsewhere on the property. As detailed in the staff report, it's staff's opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the official plan, and is appropriate and represents good planning. As a result, staff are recommending the application be approved, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
I will now ask for any comments by the applicant or their agent if they are attending in person. Okay. We'll take that as you're satisfied. Okay, great. You're quite, but would you be, okay, so if there's any questions, we can maybe field those. Are there any members of the public here to comment on this application? Okay, seeing none. Council, any questions or comments for Mr. Egger? Councilor Morphy?
Thank you, Your Worship. An obvious one, I should have asked it ahead of time, but is the shore road allowance owned? Okay.
For those tuning in from home, that was a nod. Yes, it's owned.
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay. Councillor Jorgensen?
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to confirm, we saw a pretty hardened shoreline in places there, and I think the report speaks to improved plantings recommended. Will that ensure that 75% of the shoreline becomes naturalized?
Mr. Egger?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Jorgensen. To the best of the extent where possible, the zoning bylaw recognizes that other natural features like rock barren, obviously where you cannot plant trees, contributes towards the natural shoreline buffers. So in areas where planting is possible and achievable to ensure that they actually take and succeed and thrive, that's the goal. And then the other areas will obviously not have the same visual buffer, but that hardened rock scape does contribute to that number as well.
Okay, council, any other questions? Okay, Mr. Egger, as a result of these proceedings, is there a recommendation you'd like to make to council?
Your Worship, as detailed in the staff report, staff would recommend the application be approved.
The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon if there are no further questions, and I declare this public meeting to be concluded. Moving right along to public meeting number 3. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA 18-2025 for, is it HAG Holdings or HAG Holdings? I should have probably asked ahead. HAG? Okay, Inc. I will now ask for, or Hague, I'm sorry, I will ask for the Manager of Planning Services to please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application. I will note that Councillor Jorgensen and Councillor Hunter left the room as they declared a pecuniary interest.
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject properties are located on Lake Muskoka, and I say properties because we have a unique configuration before you. We're looking at two pieces of property within the urban area that front onto Lake Muskoka that share a joint water frontage, as you can see on screen here. So the properties are designated residential and shoreline residential within the urban area of the Town of Gravenhurst official plan and are currently zoned residential 2. As you can see here, there are 2 interior lots that have a winding frontage that get all the way out to Lake Muskoka. So the subject properties do have an odd configuration stemming from lot addition approvals in 1994 that result in small frontages on Lake Muskoka. Both properties have access to a long dock that straddles the frontages and has existed prior to 1977, according to aerial photographs. Almost the entire shoreline of both properties are occupied by a dock which extends out approximately 38.5 meters from shore, with a platform that's approximately 12 square meters at the end. So you can see that here, both properties, and then they go out to the water, and then this is the 38.5 meter dock with small 20 square meter platform at the end. The properties both contain a dwelling that are separate from the waterfront, as you can see on screen. They're relatively flat at Lawrence Street and then gently slope down towards Lake Muskoka. The applicant also owns a portion of the lands that are underwater, which was part of the original shore road allowance. This area is comprised of a shallow sand beach, and you can sort of see the shallow sand beach on the aerial photographs, and then the site photos will be more indicative of that as we get farther through the presentation. The application was submitted in order to permit the expansion of an existing dock that is associated with the two separate properties. The proposed dock expansion is 35.5 square meters and located at the end of the existing dock. The relief proposes a maximum permitted dock length of 38.5 meters from the shoreline, the present water's edge, a minimum dock a setback of 0 meters from the side lot lines, maximum shoreline development of 139 square meters, a maximum permitted shoreline development width of 7.5 meters at the end of the dock, and a projected lot line to extend only as far as the flooded land that is owned by the applicant. The applicant's agent has advised that the proposed dock was designed to accommodate 2 boats, one for each of the 2 properties serviced by the dock, and to keep the same away from the identified significant fish habitat and the shallow water. Given the typical size of a boat on a large lake like Lake Muskoka, it's understood that there needs to be sufficient dock available for securing boats. Planning staff, as detailed in the report, do not have concerns with the existing dock or in addition to it, and given the proposal is outside of the significant fish habitat and will not have any negative environmental impacts and will not interfere with navigation due to the shape of the adjacent shoreline and the property being within a small cove with the properties to the north. However, the size of the proposed resulting platform will be 56.3 square meters, which is approximately 7.5 meters by 7.5 meters. On the property, combined with a lot frontage of 3.8 meters. While it's recognized that the applicant owns the directly abutting lands to the north and the large platform size is not out of character with the size of shoreline structures in the area, it must also be recognized that there are potential impacts to potential properties from noise. With that in mind, staff would recommend that the size of the platform be limited to 45 square meters, which is more than double of what's existing. With respect to agency comments, the chief building official, infrastructure technologist, and the manager of revenue had no objections. Fire and emergency services, no objections, subject to compliance with Ontario Fire and Building Code. And the District of Muskoka, no objections, subject to the implementation of the recommended fish habitat assessment prepared by Riverstone. It's worth mentioning that a property detail schedule has also been prepared to ensure that development occurs in accordance with that, so that's how we would be implementing the fish habitat assessment. And then looking to photos. So this is the existing situation in the existing dock that the 2 properties share, looking out towards Lake Muskoka, and you can see the existing platform at the end. This is then looking back down that dock towards the subject properties, and you can see the shared grass path up to the left-hand side of the dock. This is just a view of the shallow water depth that was observed by staff during the visit. Then this is looking north along the shoreline to the neighbor structures. Looking south along the waterfront, the Lorne Street Beach would be on the docks in the photograph there, and then you can also see the cliffs that are a notable landmark on the lake. And then lastly, this is just looking out west towards the lake. And again, you can see the existing rock formation forming part of that cove that was talked about in the staff report, addressing some of the navigation concerns. And again, I'd just like to reiterate, the dock's not proposing to go any farther out into the lake. It's just the expansion of that platform at the end of the dock. As detailed in the staff report, it's the opinion of staff that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the official plan, is appropriate, and represents good planning. As a result, staff are recommending the application be approved, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Okay. Is the applicant or their agent? Yep. You're great. Welcome.
Worship, it's a pleasure to be back. It's Rick Hunter from Planscape, 104 Kimberley Avenue in Bracebridge, P1P1Z8, or P1L rather, 1Z8. I haven't used that for a while. We represent the owners, HAG Holdings, and Harry Golgut actually pointed out that they were his initials and he had not contemplated how they would be spoken about afterwards. But that's the holding company. So Mr. Golgut is here and is available to answer any questions that may come up as well during the subsequent discussions. I would like to thank staff particularly for taking the time to work with us to bring this forward to you to permit the expansion of the existing dock that's associated with 610 and 640 Lawrence Street. And most of you who've been around for a while, there was the old Rice and Brent properties at the corner of Lorne and Gateway. We recognize, as Mr. Ager noted as well, that this application responds to a very unique lot, shoreline, and dock configuration that was created well over 30 years ago. Riverstone Environmental did complete the environmental report, as well as for the neighboring property, the 107 Gateway, and confirmed the boundaries. The boundaries are shown on the site plan that's attached. And Adam, I don't know if you want to put that one back up, and we'll just leave it up. That's what I'll possibly be referring to. In any case, the Type 1 fish habitat is the dashed blue line that's shown up on the plan, and the proposal was to, again, as noted, not to extend the existing dock at all, but to square off an area that was outside of the Type 1 fish habitat at the same time. The staff report does provide a comprehensive review of the proposal, and I generally concur with the analysis and conclusions that the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement and conforms with the official plans. However, the staff report does recommend reducing the size of the enlarged platform at the end of the dock from the 56.25 square meters to 45 square meters, which is a difference of 121 square feet on the property, or 11.25 square meters. I keep going back and forth from my imperial and metric numbers. It would also have the effect of reducing the available docking mooring surface for boats along the proposed platform. The staff report does note that the proposed size of the platform at the 7.5 meters recognizes a need to accommodate larger boat sizes that are typical of boats in Lake Muskoka. The existing platform at the end of the dock occupies an area about 20.75 square meters, approximately 3.5 meters by 7.5 meters. So it's difficult to dock the two boats at the end of the dock without encroaching into the Type 1 fish habitat. Obviously, the length of the dock, the bulk of the length of that dock is within the flooded land area and within the Type 1 fish habitat. So the proposed addition that is for the platform would increase the size of the platform itself by about 35.5 square meters. We're requesting that council support the adoption of the zoning amendment as applied for and not include the reduction suggested in the staff report for a number of reasons. Given the constraints on the shallow water and the Type 1 fish habitat along most of the existing dock length, and the added constraint of the proximity of the shoreline and existing rock outcrops in front of the adjacent property to the south, I believe that's the old Puntus property, there is limited potential for docking along much of the existing dock. Again, it's difficult to dock a boat along the south side of the dock due to the location of those rocks that were shown in the photos that Mr. Ager produced as well, and the location of the shoreline on the abutting property. Similarly, docking on the north side of the dock is constrained by the shallow water and the Type 1 fish habitat. Your Worship, I think the size of the proposed platform, again, is also not out of character with neighboring shoreline structures. It will not result in any difference in the usage of the platform for docking boats or sitting and viewing. Under the existing bylaw, and as referenced in the staff report, the maximum shoreline development for any lot that is less than 30 meters in frontage is 69 square meters, which would equate to a total of 138 square meters. I guess it's an anomaly in the zoning bylaw that if you're 29 meters, you have the 138 or 69 square meter requirement. If you really have theoretically 2 meters of frontage, which not theoretically, which is the situation here, you still have the ability to have 69 square meters of shoreline development on the area. So again, this technically from a zoning perspective, the bylaw would technically allow up to 138 square meters of shoreline development. Again, that's, and our proposal is for 139, again, outside the type 1 fish habitat and in an area that does not have any impact on the surrounding areas. From both a visual and use perspective, I would submit that the difference in size of the platform, as viewed either from the lake or from surrounding properties, will not be significantly different, as the platform will reasonably accommodate 2 boats, and there will still be a sitting viewing area under both situations. Again, I would request approval of the application as submitted, since the proposal is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms with both the town and district official plans, and in my opinion, does represent good planning and is in the public interest. With that, we're available for any questions that may come up.
Okay, thank you. Are there any members of the public here to speak to this application? Okay, council, it's our turn for questions. Just look to this side of the table. Councillor Morphy?
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. With the expansion of the deck, the dock, how close do they get to the neighbor? When you threw up your pictures, there were lots of long, skinny docks, and it went quickly. I was just wondering how close the expansion would be to the next dock north of it.
Thank you, Your Worship, through you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. You read my mind. I'm just going to move back to the aerial photograph, which, again, it's going to be skewed here, but you can see this is actually where the lot lines are. However, council may recall the owner of this application owns this lot to the north too, and they recognized the cabana earlier here and proposed to actually move this structure more north. The platform expansion is going in that direction towards this lot, but will not be interfering or intervening with that dock. The applicant's agent can also probably confirm that, but the lot to the north is being reconfigured by an application that was previously considered, so it's our understanding they won't be interfering with each other.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, I have one. So before we get there to the bylaw stage, the bylaw as it's written is the staff recommended size, not the submitted one. So if a member of council who's going to vote on this wants to ask for amendment, that's the opportunity to do it at the bylaw stage?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, that's correct. That's the way the bylaw was written, based on the staff recommendation. So should a member of council wish to go with the applicant's request to approve the application as applied for, there would need to be an amendment resolution to do so.
Okay, I just wanted the voters, the 3 voters to understand that. So going forward, Councillor Morphy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Okay, one last question then. If we stuck to the staff recommendation, can he fit his 2 boats on that, or does he need the larger footprint in order to accommodate, now that I see they're not bumping into each other?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, I would defer to the applicant or the applicant's agent. The 7.5 by 7.5 would approximately leave you a 24.5, almost 25 foot length of dock is what they've applied for. So I don't know the size of their boats.
They're actually both 24 feet.
Thank you. We just need you at the microphone. Thank you.
They're both 24 feet 2 inches and 24 feet today. They'll fit the expanded version. It would fit, but it would stick out.
So again, they would have to be amended to fit what he's after. Okay, so just so we're clear. Any other questions for staff or for the applicant? Okay, seeing none. As we come to the close of this hearing, Mr. Egger, are there any recommendations you'd like to bring to the attention of council?
Thank you, Your Worship. As detailed in the staff report, staff are recommending the application be approved.
The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this public meeting to be concluded. And we'll just hold off a minute so we can wait for returning members. Okay, we're going to roll right into public meeting number 5. I declare this, I think, 4. Oh, 4, okay. I'm trying to skip one. Public meeting number 4, I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA 2025 for Full Sang and Snooshel. I will now ask the manager of planning services to please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application.
Thank you, Worship. Again, the application before you technically deals with 2 pieces of property, one located on Lake Muskoka and one adjacent to by way of private road. That would be Road 3. The properties are designated waterfront area in the Town of Gravenhurst official plan and are currently zoned residential waterfront, being the piece, sorry, this is on Pine Lake, my apologies. Pine Lake, not Lake Muskoka. Road 3, residential waterfront, and then residential backlot being the piece adjacent to Muskoka Road 169 and separated by Road 3. The waterfront property is developed with a detached dwelling, privy, a shed, and a shoreline deck, boathouse, and dock. And the backlot property is vacant, although existing gravel entrance off of Road 3 in a cleared area was observed. Both properties are well vegetated with existing exposed bedrock noted throughout. The waterfront property does slope downwards moderately to the shoreline, while the backlot property is relatively flat at the front portion of off-road 3 and then slopes downward with more significant slopes moving towards Muskoka Road 169. The application was submitted in order to construct a new 2-story garage on a vacant waterfront backlot property. The proposed garage is intended to be an accessory use to the waterfront property that the applicants also own directly to the south, which is physically separated from the backlot by the private laneway that contains Road 3 or 3 Road. The proposal would require the following relief from the zoning bylaw to permit the construction of an accessory building prior to a dwelling being built, permit the development on vacant lot with an area of 2,020 square meters, where a minimum lot area of 3,000 square meters is required, permit an accessory building to front on and be accessed from a private road being 3 Road in the residential backlot zone. It's also worth mentioning that the application intends to treat the backlot and the waterfront property as one for planning purposes in order to permit the required relief and to ensure that the proposed garage remains accessory to the dwelling on a property with water access. So I know there's a lot going on here, but due to the fact that the lots are going to be treated as one for planning purposes, it then addresses the fact that a garage is being built before a dwelling because there's already a dwelling on the waterfront property. It's now the accessory structure to the waterfront property. In addition to that, it's worth noting that there should not be any concern about building a dwelling on the backlot property because they're being treated as one for planning purposes, and also you cannot have a dwelling off of a private road if you don't front on the water, and there's already a dwelling there. So that factor has also been addressed as well. With respect to agency comments, the chief building official, manager of revenue, and the infrastructure technologist all provided letters of no objection. Again, the deputy fire chief, no objection, subject to Ontario Fire and Building Code requirements. And then moving now in through to site photos. So this is looking south and a view of the waterfront lot. You can see the existing privy, shed, and cottage or dwelling structure, as well as the driveway. And then this just shows the existing shoreline development, mature trees, rock outcroppings. And again, as part of this application, no changes are occurring here. This is then moving to 3 Road. The waterfront lot would be to your left-hand side, where the proposed garage is on the right-hand side, where you can see the public notice sign posted on the tree. And then this is looking again from the waterfront side into that back lot. You can see the area that is clear and flat, conceivably where the proposed garage is to be located. And then moving into the site, you can see it's being prepared and cleared. Then moving to the top of the back lot, that's looking down towards Muskoka Road 169. It's worth noting the district has indicated that the property would not be currently able to have an entrance off 169, as the property's address is on 3 Road. There's also the constraints, that would be the steep slopes moving down that would make connecting to 169 not feasible or practical. As detailed in the staff report, it's staff's opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the official plan, is appropriate and represents good planning. As a result, staff are recommending approval of the application. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Is the applicant or agent attending? Great. Are you coming up to the podium, or you, okay, you just here okay, for if there's any questions, okay. Are there any members of the public to speak to this application? Okay, I don't see any. Council, are there any questions for Mr. Ager? Councillor Morphy?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just one question on the garage. Does anything stop them from putting living quarters above it and having a second dwelling on this split kind of property as I see it?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Morphy. Great question. Technically, the residential back lot, I would just have to check. I don't believe it permits a sleeping cabin. They're being treated as one for planning purposes. So at most, they would only be able to have a sleeping cabin above, which would be capped out at 46.5 square meters. However, and that then wouldn't have the same cooking facilities permitted at all. So no, they wouldn't be having a second dwelling on the property above the garage or within that garage structure.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Mr. Ager. Can't see this. Are there any recommendations or comments to bring to the attention of council as a result of these proceedings?
Your Worship, as detailed in the staff report, staff are recommending the application be approved.
The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this public meeting to be concluded. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number ZA 22-2025. Gravette, I will now ask the Manager of Planning Services to please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed bylaw and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application.
Thank you, Your Worship. The subject property is located on Fawn Lake. The property is designated waterfront and rural area in the town of Gravenhurst official plan, given its size, and residential waterfront and rural. The property is developed with a dwelling, which is still being constructed, and storage sheds to the north, an existing sleeping cabin, and a travel trailer in the central western area of the property. Storage equipment on the southern portion. The property is accessed through a private driveway on the western side from the privately maintained portion of Rattan's Road West. The property is well vegetated, as you can see on screen here, outside of existing development areas, including the shoreline area, and has varying topography with steeper slopes noted along the shoreline and other areas outside of development envelopes. The application before you this afternoon was submitted in order to permit a bed and breakfast establishment and accessory structures in the residential waterfront zone, RW6D portion of the property. The application specifically seeks to permit a minimum of 1 bedroom in the principal owner-occupied dwelling and a maximum of 3 bedrooms in 2 proposed sleeping cabins to the south of the dwelling, where a bed and breakfast establishment is permitted to have a maximum of 4 bedrooms in the principal dwelling only. A bed and breakfast establishment is intended to provide accommodations to the traveling public, which can include meals and/or lodging. The intention of this definition is to recognize that bed and breakfast establishment is a form of home occupation and to ensure that these uses are limited in scale and reflective of the character of neighborhoods they are located in. It's also worth noting that a bed and breakfast use is permitted in a wide range of zones, including urban residential zones where development characteristics can differ significantly. The subject property is in a rural and waterfront area. It's very large and is well buffered from the surrounding properties and by the waterfront by mature trees. Further, the 2 sleeping cabins that this use is proposed to be contemplated within are already permitted based on the size of the lot in question. And zoning would allow for personal accommodation purposes of those 2 sleeping cabins. The maximum permitted number of bedrooms for a bed and breakfast establishment will also be maintained, with a minimum of 1 bedroom still being within the principal dwelling. As a result, it's anticipated that the bed and breakfast establishment will remain limited in scale, appropriately separated and buffered from neighboring properties associated with and incidental to the principal residential use, and consistent with planned and existing character of the surround rural area and residential waterfront area. With respect to agency comments, the chief building official, manager of revenue, both commented no objection. The manager of revenue did note that there are development charge implications if the owner proceeds with the bed and breakfast. The bedrooms in the sleeping cabin will be subject to non-residential commercial accommodation for both the town and district. The deputy fire chief, no objections, subject to Ontario fire and building codes. The infrastructure technologist and the district of Muskoka had no objections to the proposed application. Comments have been received by the owners of the neighboring property at 1768 Doe Lake Road, Unit 2. Those concerns were forwarded to council for their information as well as the applicants. Concerns have been described with environmental and recreational impacts to the lake, and permitting a bed and breakfast use within the sleeping cabins when they are prohibited by short-term rental and zoning regulations. Questions were also asked about the capacity of the bed and breakfast operations, if the sleeping cabins will be new buildings, and what washroom, cooking, food storage, and water services will be provided to the guests. With respect to these comments, and as detailed in the staff report, the bed and breakfast will retain the same maximum number permitted of bedrooms prescribed by the zoning bylaw, with at least 1 bedroom being within the owner-occupied dwelling. It will include permitted structures that will satisfy all applicable setbacks, area, and lot coverage requirements, and does not contemplate any new docking facilities as it pertains to the comments surrounding the lake. The maximum permitted capacity of the operation, including all bedrooms, would be 8 guests if the application was approved, and it is worth noting that a maximum capacity is not currently prescribed by the zoning bylaw for this use. 1 sleeping cabin does exist on the property, which could be used. However, the applicants intend to remove this and build 2 new structures, which will be subject to building permit approvals. The applicants also intend to initially provide guests with water bottles for drinking purposes and a fully serviced privy to manage wastewater, and plan to include 2 new bathrooms that will be connected to water and septic system. Formal showering and kitchen facilities are not proposed within the sleeping cabins, as guests are not intended to stay on the property for long periods of time, and the applicant has confirmed that the facilities in the principal dwelling would be available. The applicants would also be living on the property as reflected by the proposed site-specific zoning regulations, helping maintain the needs and behaviors of guests. Now moving through to site photos, this is looking northwest, a view of the rear of the existing dwelling. As previously mentioned, it's currently under construction. You can see here it was currently being sided at the time of the site visit. The proposed bed and breakfast, as previously mentioned, will have a minimum of 1 bedroom within the building. This is then looking north in front of the dwelling towards the side lot line, which is well vegetated with mature trees. This is moving west and looking north. This is a view from the shoreline in front of the dwelling. Again, you can see here the mature vegetation and buffers, as well as the steep slopes down towards the shoreline. This is looking south towards the existing driveway from the dwelling. The proposed sleeping cabins would be located down this road of the dwelling along this driveway. Here's one of the sites where, as previously mentioned, there is an existing sleeping cabin on the property. As mentioned, the owner may use this cabin for the time being, but their intention is to build 2 new structures, with this site being where one of the structures would be located. This is then looking adjacent to that area down to the water. Again, mature vegetation and buffering here, and you can just see the topography changes from where the photo was taken down to the water. This is then looking southwest at the proposed location of the second sleeping cabin. Again, the area was noted to be generally flat and well vegetated. Lastly, this is looking east from that area where the sleeping cabin is to be located, also flat and well vegetated. As detailed in the staff report, it's staff's opinion that the application is consistent with the provincial planning statement, conforms to the official plan, is appropriate, and represents good planning. As a result, staff are recommending the application be approved, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
I'll now ask if there's any comments by the applicant or agent if they're attending in person. Welcome back.
Oh, it's on? Okay. Thank you. I represent Chad and Amanda Gravette, who are here and also available to answer any questions that may come up from the discussions. Initially, I'll be very, very brief on this particular one. Suffice it to say that we support the recommendations and the analysis that was put in the staff report. I have 2 observations that I just wanted to make for additional background. When the application was submitted, it was specifically designed to address some of the concerns that had been expressed by the neighbor who lives to the north of the property, hence the site-specific requirements to have the sleeping cabins south of the dwelling, so as far away from the north property line as possible. And that actually on that size of property is about at least 100 meters or 100 to 200 meters away from that property. Also would be 30 meters back from the shoreline as a standard requirement for setbacks from the water. The cabins themselves are proposed at the south limit of Fawn Lake, so pretty much where it turns into the creek that goes to the south. Also note that the limit on occupancy as well was added in to ensure that there would be no concerns about the overloading of the sites. Final comment, I would note that it's not unusual for a bed and breakfast in many jurisdictions to allow them in accessory structures. In fact, I'm familiar with some even in Gravenhurst, even in the urban area where they do exist, and they complement the sites quite readily. They also, from an official plan perspective, the policies that were specifically developed for Kashi Lake a number of years ago, very specifically, it defines bed and breakfast as a home occupation type of use and does permit them in accessory structures provided there's a zoning amendment. So we meet that criteria, even though we're not on Kashi Lake, we meet the approach and that criteria that's on there. So with that, as I mentioned, I support the staff recommendation and would also concur that the application represents good planning and is in the public interest. So with that, any other questions would be we can deal with. Thank you.
No, I think we know who everyone here is, but are there any members of the public? Oh, no, I didn't see you. Is there that want to speak to this? No? Okay. Council, are there any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none. Well, we breezed through those. Mr. Egger, is there any recommendations you'd like to make to committee?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you, as detailed in the staff report, staff are recommending the application be approved.
Okay. The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this public meeting to be concluded. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number Shore Road Closure 07-2024 for Stott and Kulza. I will now ask for, sorry, I apologize. I will now ask for any comments by the applicants or their agent if they are attending in person. Sorry, you threw me off because the language changed, because it's a short road closure. Okay. Nobody? Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? No? Are there any questions or comments from council to the applicants, the director? I will now ask the Director of Development Services, Melissa Halford, if there are any recommendations or comments to bring to the attention of council as a result of these proceedings. Director?
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Staff would recommend approval of the bylaws outlined in the staff report.
Okay. The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this public meeting to be concluded. Public meeting number 7. I now declare this portion of the meeting to be a public meeting to deal with application number RC01 2024 TRG Cherokee Holdings, Inc. I will now ask for the comments by the applicants or their agent if they're attending in person. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public attending in person? If so, please stand, approach the podium, give your full name and mailing address, and follow with your comments.
Ken Pierce, 2232 Muskoka Road, 169, Gravenhurst, P1P1R2. I did submit a letter this morning, and I don't know if you've all had a chance to take a look at that. I had a few questions, but also wanted to reiterate that I was hopeful that council would speak to the developer at some point about the deeding back of the water lot, and I think it's something that, according to the OLT hearing, the applicant's planner said that, the appellant's planner said that it had not been raised with the council or planning staff, and that was January of 2024. We're a year and a half later, and I was hopeful that it would come up. I expect that this project will be the subject of additional applications for relief in the future as well, and I'm just hopeful at some point this will be taken into account. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, council, are there any questions to the Director of Development Services? Okay. I will now ask the Director of Development Services, Melissa Halford, if there are any recommendations or comments to bring to the attention of council as a result of these proceedings.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Given the letter that we received this morning, I thought it might just be good to provide an overview and some answers to those questions so that council has it before them. So as council will recall, this portion of Cherokee Lane was deemed surplus about pretty much a year ago. And since that time, staff have been working on negotiating the purchase price and completing the detailed review of the property for disposition to the potential purchaser with our solicitor, their solicitor, the district's engineering and public works department, and the town's infrastructure department. I can confirm that all the requirements of the District of Muskoka and the town's infrastructure departments have been met, and that any access to any infrastructure that may be needed or will be needed in the future will be retained. As for the size, there's a question about the size of the lot in question, and it's 0.159 acres, and the sale price is outlined in the staff report, being around $43,000, which was based on a professional appraisal of the property. As mentioned, the letter also suggests the deeding of a portion of a remnant, eventual remnant water lot adjacent to the boathouse as part of the Starbird development, and suggests that it should be tied to this road closure application. To date, there's been no indication from council that this was desired through this road closure process, which has been about a year in the making, and staff have been negotiating a value for the lands as per our standard agreement and the standard process. So any changes now would presumably change what we could charge for the lot, and would, in fairness to the applicant, would send us back to the drawing board in terms of the cost of that. But not only that, and that's not the main reason, but perhaps more importantly, this matter has been brought up by the MLA in the past, and through the starboard application, and staff would suggest that it's more appropriately dealt with at the site plan stage when things such as parkland and other site servicing matters are being worked on. I'd also note that it's not been made exclusively clear to me as to what the value of a in this case, an orphaned kind of remnant parcel of a water lot would provide to the taxpayers of Gravenhurst. It's not a parcel that, unlike other water lots in the area, it's not contiguous with other town-owned water lots, so it's kind of would just be out in the middle of the bay afterwards, although it is in front of the view from Lookout Park. There, it's not attached to any other town-owned land, so it would be like an orphaned remnant parcel out in the lake. And I'd argue that there may be more compelling town benefits that could be negotiated through the Starboard site plan agreement for the taxpayers of the community. But it's something that, such as usable park space or trails or something of that nature, something more tangible to the taxpayers, as well as any development that would be permitted on that water lot has to go through a formal planning process, right? The site plan stage has no development at the end of that water lot currently, and they could not build on the end of that water lot unless it was through the site plan process. So however, I'm happy to have that discussion further and leave it for council to determine. But those are just my thoughts based on the letter that we received this morning. So, staff are recommending, to your point, Your Worship, staff are recommending approval of the bylaw as outlined in the staff report.
Okay, I guess I have a question. So, that would be, I would imagine, that would be deferred if that was to be negotiated in, because we can't make them. That's affecting the price, that's affecting all the legwork that's already been done, right? Would you agree with that?
Well, Your Worship, if council included that as a requirement to go back, then it would be, something we would have to talk about with the applicant. But you're right, it would be something that we would have to discuss with them specifically. So I believe the clerk has a draft motion about a referral, if that was something, referring it back to staff to look into, so that the bylaw doesn't get passed or direction doesn't get given until we have a chance to speak about it with the applicant.
Okay, so, any other questions? Director, did you give us your recommendation? Sorry, going back.
I did, Your Worship, that's
Okay.
fine. I would recommend approval of the bylaws outlined in the staff report.
Okay. The bylaw will be considered by council later this afternoon. If there are no further questions, then I declare this final public meeting to be concluded. And I am going to call for a break, and we are going to do a switcheroo. The deputy mayor is going to take the chair before our two deputations. So let's say you will all be back here at 4:55. And, okay, we're going to do a straight 5 as per the clerk's recommendation. So take a break, and I'll see ya. Thanks.
Okay, with my wild hair today. Okay, thank you. We're back. Moving into deputations. Now we have Savas Varadas from Plan Muskoka to speak on the unfinished business item that we will be discussing. Go ahead, Mr. Varadas.
It off? Okay, good, thank you. I really just need about a minute of council's time here on this one. So as council may recall, at the previous council meeting, there was a deferral of this matter for some additional information being requested of the applicants to be provided. The main thing was an environmental impact addendum to the report that was provided by Frycorp. That has been provided, which demonstrates that the proposed cabin on the existing deck of the property would not have a negative impact to the Severn River. There's some mitigative measures that are proposed to be implemented through the planning process that will, seek to protect the natural environment in that regard. There is some photographs that were provided to staff that show a rise in topography behind the existing deck, and that is sought to be protected, and in the trees that are on it as well, by positioning the cabin on the existing deck that is located on the subject lands. And finally, there was some building drawings that were also submitted to staff for consideration as well. I think with those matters and the cap that staff has recommended on this matter to cap the height and the size of the building to exactly what's proposed, I think we address the concerns from council, particularly visual impacts from the lake. And I think Mark Corner is joining us as well too. So if you have any questions for myself or for Mr. Corner, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gardner, did you have any comments in addition to Mr. Varadas, or just here for questions?
No further comments. I'm certainly.
Okay. And, oh, he's still there.
Yeah, he's
Okay. Oh, it's there. Okay. Okay, good. Council, do you have any questions for Mr. Varadas? We will have the Mr. Ager will be speaking to this item under the unfinished business. Seeing nothing, okay. Thank you very much. We do have another deputation listed. But, he's apparently not here, so I guess we will move on to item H, the unfinished business, which is ZA 14-2025 Cordner on Severn River, which Mr. Varadas just spoke to, and Mr. Ager. Okay, we have a motion moved by Councillor Morphy and it says seconded by myself, which I don't think we can do. Seconded by Councillor Robinson. Whereas a public meeting has been held under Section 34 of the Planning Act for Cordner, application ZA 14-2025, and whereas further amendments have been made to the proposed bylaw as follows. A, revise the wording of section 2.1A to say a dwelling with a maximum footprint of 75 square meters and a maximum height of 6.5 meters when measured from the top of the deck to the peak of the roof is permitted to be set back a minimum of 16.3 meters from the optimum summer water level of the Severn River. And whereas section 3417 of the Planning Act provides that council may determine whether further notice is to be given where a change is made to a proposed bylaw, and now therefore be it resolved that report number DEV 2025-55 regarding ZA 1425 Cordner Severn River be received for information. And finally, that council, after due consideration of the proposed bylaw and amendments thereto, concludes that the amendments are of such minor nature that no further notice need be given with respect to the proposed bylaw. Any comments or questions? Oh, Adam's going to do his presentation now. I'm sorry. I'm a rookie at this again. I haven't done planning council for a while. Go ahead, Mr. Ager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will keep it brief. Council will recall this was deferred at the June 22nd Planning Council meeting for additional information, one being that the Frycorp report be updated to conclude no negative impacts, which we heard from Mr. Varadas earlier that was the case. In addition to that, then the District of Muskoka updated their comments from denial to approval in support of the Frycorp recommendation, so that's been addressed. In addition to that, there was a lot of discussion around the council table around limiting size and scale, and would it actually be located on that platform. If you'll recall, the property was previously developed with a yurt, and there was an existing platform where the proposed development was going to be located on. This structure right here. As you saw in that in that resolution, the cap of 73.6 square meters and a 1.5 story height has been now incorporated into the bylaw, as you had heard. So getting those additional details, we now have a better understanding that should a dwelling be proposed at the 16.3 meter setback, which is what they're asking for, it will only be that size and in that location at that height. If they want anything greater than that, they'd have to go back to 30 meters. As a result, staff are recommending the application be approved with those adjustments incorporated into the zoning bylaw that you had previously read.
Thank you. So any discussion, I guess, we have the motion before us for the minor amendment resolution. Any discussion, questions on that? Okay, we will call for the vote on that resolution. Thank you, and it carries. Thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. The first item, only item under new business is the noise bylaw exemption for 1115 North Cashy Lake Road. And we have a report, and we have a motion moved by Councillor Morphy, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Be it resolved that report number DEV 2025-56, re the noise bylaw exemption, 1115 North Cashy Lake Road, be received for information, and that council approves the proposed noise exemption. Thank you. Is anyone speaking to that? No? Director? No?
Mr. Chair, I think the staff report's pretty self-explanatory. I'm happy to answer any questions, but it's a one-time event-specific noise exemption. So.
Any comments or questions from council on that? Okay, so we'll call for the vote. And that carries, so that noise exemption has been granted. Okay, moving into bylaws. First of all, we know we will have to pull item 3 to deal with it separately. Are there any others? Oh, I'm sorry. I'll have to read this first for first reading, yes. Be it resolved, moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Varney. Be it resolved that the following bylaws be read, passed, and engrossed into the bylaw book. Bylaw number 2025-52, zoning for Gadri Investments Ontario Limited. Bylaw number 2025-53, zoning for Laverty on Cashy Lake. Bylaw number 2025-54, zoning for HAG Holdings. Bylaw number 2025-55, zoning for Fulsang and Snyshall. Bylaw number 2025-56, zoning for Grivet. Bylaw number 2025-57, zoning for Cordner. Bylaw number 2025-58, the shore road closure for Straught and Kulasia. And bylaw number 2025-59, the road closure for TRC Cherokee Lane. So other than number 3, which we will deal with separately. Councillor Hunter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to pull number 1 for discussion, but also I need to vote separately on number 5. So if we can.
I'm sorry, on number 5 as well, yes.
Thank you.
And 3, okay. Anything else? Councillor Morphy? I guess I have to, sorry, go ahead.
Well done. Yeah, I'd like to pull number 8, please.
Number 8.
Yeah, Cherokee Lane.
Okay. Let's do this in order. Okay. Start with Godry. Okay, so we will start with discussion, and Councillor Hunter, I think you pulled that for the Godry Investments item. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to pull this one for discussion because I felt that it deserves some discussion around the table, especially around affordable homes and, which I think, I don't know, I can't speak for all of us, but obviously sitting on the Housing Task Force, I would like to see some more affordable housing. However, this is quite excessive. So I am not opposed to what's permitted to be to be on that property, but there are some major concerns there with the servicing of that area. So I can't support it at the scale and the level to which they're proposing. But I just wanted to make those comments that I did agree with. I think it was Mr. Ball that had said, we need affordable housing, but we need it to make sense for everyone involved. So those are just my comments. I just wanted to say that.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone else want to add to that? Councillor Varney, I'll bring you in. Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, I'm agreeing with Councillor Hunter on this as well. And I do agree we do need affordable housing, but I feel that the number that they're asking for is over the top. I'm also going to ask a question as to, Muskoka's made out of rock, and I'm wondering when they did the investigation, did they not realize that maybe with digging down a certain level that they might hit rock and they wouldn't be able to do as many as they're thinking they can? I don't know whether that would be to our planners to answer that question, but I'm just making comments, and I just wondered about that question because that was something I should have asked before. Thank you.
Does anyone want to tackle that? Or yeah, go ahead, Mr. Ager.
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to Councillor Varney. Thanks for the question. There was some preliminary work done, and the servicing options report did talk about how the water portion or the communal water service would be done through communal wells, multiple wells. However, also as detailed in the staff report, the subject lands are located in a highly vulnerable aquifer and a significant groundwater recharge area. And while the servicing options statement did talk about there being a high water demand based on the well records, it hasn't been evaluated over a long period of time what the impact would be on that aquifer.
Thank you. Councillor Morphy.
Thank you, Mr. Deputy. I just need a clarification because we always get confused which way we're supposed to vote for the bylaw. If we want the 209, we vote yes, and if we don't want the 209, we vote no. Is that correct, Madam Clerk?
To Councillor Morphy, the proper term to. Okay, I gotta stop. Through the chair to Councillor Morphy. There you go. Got it. Okay. The motion in front of you is, would you like to approve the application? So if you would like to approve the application, you vote yes. If you do not wish to approve the application, which just happens to be the same recommendation of staff, then you would vote no. Ultimately, the decision rests with you as how you'd like to vote.
Thank you. Anything further? Because a question I have, Mr. Ager, the topic has come up of, I think there was 90 that they are entitled. They would. I suspect they'd still have to go through site plan approval and all that to deal with a lot of the same issues in terms of servicing and whatnot if they were to expand this. Is that, am I correct in that thinking? Or perhaps you could outline, what steps would have to happen to permit them to build what is already permitted, i.e. up to the 90. So that would be another 46, is my math right? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you. That's correct. So Special Provision 61 does allow them up to 90 units, where currently there's 54 sites. Right now, there's a site plan agreement on the property, SPA 05-2009, which has appeared to be expired. So anything more than 10 units triggers a site plan agreement. So yes, and then through the site plan agreement, we'd be looking at functional servicing and site servicing. And to your point, there may be additional challenges with that. As we understand, communal servicing is not permitted, so the sites would have to be individually, privately serviced.
Okay, so expansion would require individual services, okay. Anything further? Sorry? No, I'm missing Councillor Hunter, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my question is, if we deny this proposal today, are they, because the up to 90 is permitted, are they able to come back with a proposal for to make up the 90? Or by denying it today, they can't come back at all? Is my question, I guess, to Mr. Egger.
Mr. Egger, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, through you to Councillor Hunter, thanks. If I'm understanding your question correctly, if the application is denied today, they will not be able to have 207 mobile home sites. However, the underlying or existing zoning of 90 is still in effect, so they would be able to expand through the appropriate development control techniques up to 90 sites, being at 54 right now.
Okay. Anything further on this one? Okay, we've already read the resolution, so let's call for the vote on that. Oh. Don't forget, yeah. Yes to approve, no to. So that motion fails, so the application is denied. Thank you.
Okay, so the next one
So
Hague.
HAG is
Yes.
next. So for this item, because we have two declarations of conflict, I'm going to pass the chair to Councillor Morphy to deal with that item.
Welcome. I don't have that in front of me. Does anybody want to discuss Hague? I think we go to Councillor Robinson. She's pulled it. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to pull it and make a motion for the original ask applied by the applicant and to be put up on the screen, please.
Moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Varney. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, passed, and engrossed into the bylaw book as originally applied for by the applicant. Bylaw number 2025-54 zoning, HAG Holdings, Lake Muskoka. Any comments or questions? And then we'll call the vote.
Okay.
The next one is
Thank you.
Gravette.
We're now moving on to, be it resolved, the following bylaw be read, passed, and engrossed into the bylaw book, bylaw number 2025-56, the zoning for Gravette on Fawn Lake. Yeah, this one's being, we're voting separately on this one because Councillor Hunter has a conflict. Okay.
Let's go.
Any discussion or anything on this? Okay, we'll call for the vote. And that carries, thank you. And my
Okay, now the next one is please hold. I didn't put this one in because it came last minute.
That's the
Okay, so So
Sorry.
we're just doing
TRC.
number 8.
Number 8. This was pulled.
It was pulled, just hold on. Okay, so number
Okay.
8 was pulled over to Councillor Moore.
Thank you. So item 8, I guess I'll have to read the,
She pulled it, so do you want to discuss it?
okay, do you want to discuss item number 8, Councillor Morphy?
Let's do that. I pulled this because that water lot in front of Lookout Point has been a real contention with our residents. We had over 2,000 signatures about the extension. Right now, it's the same like the steamships. Steamships can maneuver, and if we tied this, it's just to refer it back to the majority of us, when more of us are back at the table. Just refer it back to staff to ask them if they'd be willing to deem the water lot back to the town, as the official plan asks us to do when developing over water. I think we have it in more detail at the motion. But it's a public park, and there's no need for it to go any longer, and if they're amenable to it, I understand the director's observations, it's better at the site plan control. I believe that, I do. But this could take another 2 years. It could be a whole other council, and this could be completely missed. If we pass on the opportunity now, down the road, who's going to remember to bring this application, or this, it's just a little bit of give and take with Starboard, Cherokee, just protect our public park. That's all I'm looking to do, and I'm hoping I have your support on that. And it's just a referral. Please. So we're not deciding anything today. Randy reads it.
Okay, shall I read that? Moved by Councillor Morphy, seconded by Councillor Varney, whereas section C 7.7.7 of the town's official plan states that there are a number of privately owned water lots adjacent to the shoreline. As a condition of development for a use over water, including docks, the balance of the water lot that is not to be used should be deeded to the town. And whereas the unused water lot fronts onto Lookout Park, and it would give residents the security knowing that their park view will not be hidden by future development. Therefore, be it resolved that the road closure bylaw TRC Cherokee Lane be referred back to administration to work with the developer on a proposal to deed back the unused water lot, or the unused portion of the water lot, I think it should be. Councillor Varney, would you like to speak to it?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I'm seconding this because I do agree with what Councillor Morphy's suggesting, is that I think there's a lot more to this, where I believe that Scott Moffat had said originally that he would give the town back that water lot. And I guess I have discussed this with Director Holford. I know she said that it will be discussed at that point down the road. But as Councillor Morphy has said, I'm afraid it's going to get caught up in all the business that's going on with that. And I know the people who use the Lookout Point and use that park are quite concerned about the starboard and when that dock goes past the park, what's going to happen to it, whether they're going to be able to get a view, whether they're going to be able to, they talk about a ramp going down to that dock so that the people from Lookout Point can go down to the dock. But I just feel that we need more discussion on it, and that's why I'm seconding the referral. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillor Hunter?
Yeah, I just had a question for clarification that the referral doesn't stop the, like, we would be voting still on the bylaw, is that correct? Or we would be?
I'll put it back up. It's, the last line is referring the bylaw back to administration, so you wouldn't be. Sorry, offender for not using my mic. The motion I just put up, so council can see that. The tabled motion moved by Councilor Morpher, second by Councilor Varney, basically identifies that the road closure bylaw TRC Cherokee Lane, which was part of the original motion, be referred back to staff to work with the developer on a proposal to deed back the unused water lots. So that would be basically referring the bylaw back to staff, and then there would not be a subsequent vote to adopt or deny that particular bylaw this evening.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Councillor Robinson, do you have anything to add? I do. To be honest, I don't know why that would be tied to this particular application, if you will, or this road closure. I mean, we have had lots of opportunity to deal with that. It could have been brought forward as a condition at any time in the approval process, and it wasn't. And I don't really know what it has to do with the road closure specifically here. So, I mean, I think I would defer to staff's opinion that, you know, it could be dealt with at site plan time, but at the same time, I don't know that my understanding from staff is that they wouldn't be able to build beyond what they are permitted to without coming back to council for approval anyway on the remainder of that water lot in question. So I don't, you know, if they can't build on it without coming back to council, then council would have another kick at it should they bring that back. And not to mention the extra expense for surveying the water lot. And as we heard from Director Halford, there's no advantage to the town to owning that because they have to come back for approval to use any part of the extra lot. So, Councillor Morphy.
Yes, to address your concerns, I agree. It has very little to do with the road allowance. It's just an opportunity to ask the question. That's it. Will you give us back the water lot so we know the park is going to stay unobstructed? That's it. And in terms of coming back to us to expand, I mean, you know, you've been down this road. People, there are expansion rights. They have, you know, if they want to expand, we can't always say just no because we don't want it. This is the opportunity to protect the park. That's all I'm asking for, is protect the park. They've got their development, they've got their condos, they've got their road, they'll get their road allowance. We just want to ask them if they'll give us back the water lot at this time. That's it. It's not complicated, and I think it's fair to the residents, the 2,000 some odd people that petitioned to save that park.
Anything further on this? Okay, so we will vote on the motion to refer the item back to. Do we need it back up? Is everybody familiar? Okay, we'll bring it back up. Okay, so again, the motion then is to refer it back to staff to work with the developer on a proposal to deed back the unused water lots. Councillor Morphy?
Just a quick reminder, it is per our official plan when building over water.
Yeah, I mean, again, the official plan does say should, not shall, and I think we're aware of the issues surrounding it. Personally, I don't see a problem with the way it is because the applicant or the applicant, they'd have to apply for a change to do anything in front of the park beyond where they're already permitted to. So that's my opinion, and so I will not be supporting this. Councillor Morphy, go ahead.
Again, it's just the assurance to the residents that their view is kept and we don't have to go down this pipeline again.
Okay, anything further? So I'll call for the vote on that item. Okay, and that is defeated. So now we will go back and read the original motion. And that was again moved by Councillor Robinson, seconded by Councillor Varney. Be it resolved that the following bylaw be read, passed, and engrossed into the bylaw book. Bylaw 2025-59, road closure for TRC on Cherokee Lane. I think we've discussed this enough, so I'll call for the vote. And that carries. Thank you. Now we will be voting on the remainder of the items. Let's put those up again and we'll, just to be clear on what we're voting on here. So we are voting for 2025-53 for Laverty, 55 for Fulsang and Snyshaw, right? 57 for Cordner, the Shore Road closure and the, well, we already voted on the road closure, that's it. Okay, so those are the remaining items that I will call for the vote on. Okay, thank you. And that carries. And the confirming, adoption of minutes. Moved by Councillor Morphy, seconded by Councillor Hunter. Be it resolved that minutes of the council meeting dated June 24th, 2025 be approved as circulated. Any comments or discussion? I'll call for the vote. And that carries. Thank you. Now we'll vote on the confirming bylaw. Moved by Councillor Varney, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Be resolved that bylaw 2025-60 to confirm the council meeting held on July 22nd, 2025 be passed. And please vote. And that carries. Thank you. Now a motion to adjourn. Councillor Robinson, Councillor Varney. Please vote. And that carries. Thank you very much.